I'm not marrying a loser who can't even afford a roof over his head. She set the eviction notice on the counter, then walked past me like I was furniture. My name is Mark Hensley, 38, civil infrastructure consultant. I was laid off on a Friday, evicted by Sunday, and dumped at 10:42 a.m. on Monday. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just slid her ring off and left it beside my coffee. I zipped up my duffel bag, work boots, USB drive, black notebook. That's all I took. Don't worry, this won't take long. She didn't ask what I meant. She didn't care. I walked out, 3 floors down, no elevator. The stairwell reeked of mold and cheap bleach. Light on the 2nd floor still flickering. I'd offered to fix it last week. She rolled her eyes. At the bottom of the stairs, I paused, checked the front pocket. The drive was still there, warm from the sun, draft 17B, the version no one wanted. They said my project was dead. She said I was next. I didn't look back. Van was parked where I always left it, back lot, under the dying pine. Ethan's 6 Sprinter, dented, paid off. I threw the duffel in the back, sat in the driver's seat, didn't turn the key, opened the glove box, flash drive, red label, the one they all passed on, the one I stopped pitching. I ran my thumb along the edge, still clean, slipped it into my jacket pocket, zipped it shut. The engine coughed twice. Caught. Dashboard flickered. Oil light on, gas low, same warning. Lights. Different day. 15 minutes later, I pulled into a side alley behind Ray's garage. Ray's ex-Marine. Doesn't ask questions, just hands you a key and says, "Don't die on the floor." He wasn't there. Didn't need to be. Side door was unlocked like always. The loft above the garage was no bigger than a jail cell. Cot, lamp, crate table, window with bars. I plugged in the laptop. No Wi-Fi. Draft 17B loaded in silence. No bugs. Pulled out the notebook. Black cover. Torn corner. Pages filled with years of work. Field tests. Rejection emails. Page 42 was marked with a folded receipt. No title. No date. Just a square where the logo used to be. They ignored it. She mocked it. I kept building. I sat down on the cot. The frame creaked like it wanted to give up. She thought I was finished. Most people would have been. But I wasn't most people. I took off the jacket. Hung it over the chair. The red flash drive glowed faintly through the fabric. I didn't sleep, just watched the light. That was enough for now. Before the layoff, before the eviction, before the coffee went cold, I worked 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Not in an office. Not in a lab, on-site, in mud, dust, and rebar. I wasn't a CEO, I wasn't trying to be. But I knew every flaw in the residential construction pipeline, from permit to paint. For 10 years I'd been building something. A tool. A system. Designed. To save time/waste and keep small contractors from bleeding out between invoices. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't beautiful, but it worked when people gave it a chance. I didn't talk about it much. Most people don't care how concrete gets poured faster. She didn't either. We met at a hardware chain. She worked in lighting. I was consulting on a new store rollout. She liked my hands, said they looked like they built things. I took that as a compliment. We moved in fast. She liked how stable I seemed. I liked how clean she kept the sink. She was efficient, structured, polished, the kind of woman who makes lists in her sleep. For a while, that kept me grounded. But when I started staying late to work on my system, the temperature shifted. The second prototype crashed. She stopped setting the table for 2. She started going out with her branding friends. "Still working on your app thing?" That's what she'd call it, like a hobby, like fantasy football. I didn't explain it anymore. Her father was a drywall man, old school. Said real men build with their hands, not laptops. I didn't argue, just fixed his truck for free when it died on Christmas Eve, tuned it up in freezing rain while he watched in silence. He offered me whiskey after. Didn't say thank you. just nodded once. That was enough. Luis believed in it too. Foreman from a crew I trained out west. Helped me test early versions in the field. Sent me notes, photos, audio messages at 2 a.m. "Mark," he said once, "if this thing works, I'm going to get my life back." He had a daughter, 5 years old. Said he hadn't been to a recital in 2 years. That stuck with me. That's why I kept going. Not for glory. Not for her. Not even for me back then. I thought we were building something together. Me and her. A life. But every month I poured hours into the system. She poured distance between us. She stopped asking when we'd set a date. Stopped calling her dad. Started ordering wine I couldn't pronounce. One night, she walked in and asked if we could pause the wedding planning. I nodded once, then went back to debugging the file structure. 2 weeks later, I got the call. "Due to restructuring, your role is being eliminated effective immediately. No notice, no meeting. Just a voicemail from HR while I was on site marking faults on a slab." I packed up my vest, signed out the equipment, and drove home in silence. She didn't say a word when I told her, just blinked, then asked if I'd still be able to cover rent that month. That was the moment I knew I was already out. She was just waiting for the right exit. It started with the silence. She stopped making dinner, stopped saying good morning, stopped coming home before 10. When I asked, she said she was busy. With what, she didn't say. The notebook stayed on the counter, untouched, unread. One night I left a demo running on the kitchen laptop. Version 17A, streamlined layout, new material cost calculator, live sync with vendor APIs. She closed the lid before it finished loading, then ordered takeout and scrolled through Instagram for 2 hours. I kept working. From the garage. From the van. Anywhere but beside her. Luis sent over a test file. First positive field data we'd had. 15% savings across a 9-week site. I printed it, left it next to her coffee. She didn't comment, just pushed the paper aside like it was junk mail. 2 days later, she posted a photo of a new necklace. Caption, "Invest in things that sparkle." It wasn't from me. I confronted her. She didn't deny it, didn't explain. She just smiled. "You're too obsessed with your little project, Mark. Maybe if you made money like a real man, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." That night I slept in the van, not because she asked, because I chose to. I woke up with frost on the windows and a new version in my head. Draft 17B was born that morning. By sundown, I had it running. It was tighter, sharper, stripped of anything, unnecessary, just like I felt. I emailed it to 3 subcontractors I trusted, didn't hear back for days. Meanwhile, she was hosting wine tastings in our apartment, people I'd never met. Loud laughter through thin walls while I debugged code in a cold garage. She changed the Netflix password, moved the bedroom TV to the closet, told her parents I'd stopped trying. One of her friends cornered me by the elevator, said I should quit playing inventor and get a real job before she comes to her senses. The thing is, she already had. One night I walked in to find her on speakerphone with her boss. She was laughing. "Yeah, I don't think he's got what it takes. He's more of a concept guy." She saw me in the doorway. Didn't stop. When I opened the fridge, the shelves were bare. No milk, no leftovers. Just a bottle of imported white wine with her initials etched on the glass. The next morning, my side of the closet was empty. My tools were boxed up. Eviction notice taped to the fridge. She hadn't paid the last 2 months of rent. Said she assumed I was handling it. When I checked my account, it was down to $42. She'd used my card for a hotel booking. Said she needed space to think. Her final move came fast. She put on her earrings, tucked the eviction notice into a folder, then looked at me with nothing in her eyes and said, "I'm not marrying a loser who can't even afford a roof over his head." She set the folder down, slid off her ring, left it beside my cold coffee. I didn't argue. I zipped the duffel, grabbed the notebook, pocketed the flash drive. "Don't worry, this won't take long." She didn't ask what I meant. She didn't care. I walked out. The first 3 days, I didn't sleep. I rewrote entire blocks of code, stripped out anything that could fail in the field, simplified the interface, removed friction. Then I called Luis, told him I had something that worked. He didn't ask questions, just said, "Send it." I did. 2 days later, he called back, said he used it on a real estimate, got it done in half the time. No spreadsheet, no back and forth. The numbers were clean, the client said yes. That was the first win. Small, but enough. I started building a basic site, just a landing page with a name. Field Right Construction. Estimating done smart. I didn't buy ads, didn't push. I sent the link to 10 people I trusted. Contractors, suppliers, project managers. 4 responded. 1 forwarded it to a supplier rep. That rep sent it to a regional contact. The chain started moving. I cleaned up the demo, posted a walkthrough video. Nothing. Fancy, just me, screen recording, voiceover, no music, no pitch, just clarity. I recorded it in 1 take, at 2:17 a.m., under a flickering bulb in Ray's garage. I didn't smile, didn't sell, just showed how it worked. Line by line, time saved, cost mapped, delay mitigated. Then I got a call from Luis. "You're not gonna believe this. I just had lunch with a guy who saw your tool. He thinks it's years ahead of what the big boys are using." He gave me a name and a company. It was hers. Her company. The firmware. She handled onboarding and vendor integration. I kept my voice flat. "Did he say anything else?" Luis hesitated. "Yeah. He said your name came up. They didn't realize you built it. He asked for your contact." I nodded even though Luis couldn't see me. "Thanks, let me know if he calls." That night I checked the site analytics. The walkthrough had 137 views. Half from a single IP range tied to her company. She'd seen it. Or someone had shown her. I waited 2 more days. Nothing. Then I got a message from a guy named Clarkson.VP of Operations. Said he wanted to talk. We scheduled a video call. I wore the same shirt I left her apartment in. He said he was impressed, that the tool had real legs. Asked how long I'd been building it. I told him the truth. 10 years, nights and weekends, no funding. He blinked, said that kind of persistence was rare, said he wanted to offer me a position, 1 level below Director of Vendor Tech, said the position was open. I knew who had it before. She did. I didn't ask why it was open, didn't ask what she said. About me, I just said, "Send the offer in writing." He did. I read it twice. Then once more for good measure, full benefits, signing bonus equity in the tool if I migrated it in-house. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about getting even. It was about alignment. She dismissed what I built. Her boss offered to fund it. And I wasn't done yet. I didn't post about the job. Didn't call her. Didn't reply to the old emails she started sending later that week. Just focused. The kind of focus that comes when you've already lost what mattered and found what didn't. That was the first check. But I was still playing the board. The contract was signed on a Wednesday. By Friday, I was on site at their main office, 3 floors above where she used to work. They gave me a badge, a private desk, a non-disclosure agreement the size of a phone book. I didn't ask questions, just shook hands and got to work. Clarkson told me they'd been trying to build something similar for 2 years. 5 vendors, 3 failed pilots. Nothing stuck. Then someone forwarded him my walkthrough. He said it felt like someone had finally built the thing right. I didn't tell him how many nights I coded in the dark with a propane heater and a cracked laptop. Didn't tell him I tested half the algorithms while living out of a van. Didn't need to. The results spoke. Field Right was integrated into 2 pilot teams. Early data showed savings of 11% in labor hours, 18% in supplier overage, the kind of numbers that change boardroom agendas. I was invited to a quarterly review. Just to listen, they said, but they asked questions, took notes when I spoke. That's when the resistance came. Not from Clarkson, from legal. Apparently, someone raised concerns about the IP. that the product was suspiciously similar to something previously reviewed internally and rejected. They were referring to the prototype she had submitted months earlier under her name. She'd pitched my idea, poorly, without code, without function, just a half-baked pitch deck and her own spin. Now someone from HR was suggesting I'd stolen it from her. I was called into a review panel. 3 people, 1 conference room, Clarkson, legal counsel. A woman from HR I'd never met. She started with, "Just to clarify, did you ever work directly with Ms. Lister during your development of Fieldright?" I said no, then handed over my notebook, handwritten dates, build logs, field test notes from 3 years ago, time-stamped feedback from Luis. All of it. I didn't raise my voice, didn't insult her, just laid the facts down, 1 page at a time. After 40 minutes of quiet flipping and scanning, Clarkson looked at the legal rep and said, "We're done here." Later that evening, I got the internal memo. Position confirmed. Clearance approved. They didn't mention her again. They didn't need to. 3 days later, I saw her in the lobby, clipboard in hand, talking fast to someone from compliance. She saw me, stopped mid-sentence. We locked eyes. I didn't smile, didn't nod, just pressed the elevator button and waited. Later that night, she messaged me. "So you're the guy they replaced me with. Congrats. I guess persistence works for some people." I looked at it, didn't reply. An hour later, another one. "I always believed in you, Mark. You just never knew how to listen. Then, maybe we could talk sometime. Just as friends." I didn't block her. I just archived the thread. I still had the email she sent trashing the product. The one where she told half her team I lacked the vision to lead anything more than a crew of bricklayers. Could have forwarded it to Clarkson. Could have let him see who had really misrepresented what. I didn't. I still had the bank records, the hotel booking, the overdraft alerts. Could have submitted them when they asked for evidence of my financial hardship in the onboarding form. Didn't do that either. Could have told HR who she was to me. Could have made her job search harder. Could have done it all without ever raising my voice. But I didn't. I didn't need her to lose. I just needed to win without her. Because winning quietly is louder than any revenge. That Friday, Clarkson handed me a revised offer. More equity. He said the board wanted to accelerate adoption. "Why?" I asked. He smiled. "Because one of our senior advisors saw the tool and said, 'This is exactly what we told her we needed. She just couldn't deliver it.'" He meant her. Didn't say it, but he meant it. I nodded once. Signed. That night, I went back to Ray's garage, pulled out the black notebook. The receipt was still on page 42. I added 1 line in the margin. They saw it when she was gone. I closed the cover, didn't burn it, didn't frame it, just placed it back on the shelf. Then I turned off the light. The offer letter sat in my inbox for a full day. I didn't open it again. Didn't need to. That night, I walked through the apartment, one last time. The boxes were already packed. The lease was in her name. I left the keys on the counter, left the wine bottle she once brought home after that networking dinner. Left the glass with her lipstick still faint on the rim. I took the USB drive, the one with the beta files, the test logs, the failed prototypes. 10 years of effort, slipped it into a padded envelope, wrote 1 line on the flap. Archive. Don't forget. Then sealed it and slid it into a shoebox I'd kept from the first pair of boots I bought on my first day as a foreman. Some things you keep, not for revenge, for memory. The next morning I boarded the train, 1 backpack, 1 laptop, a new city. Though apartment was smaller, but the windows were better. Light came in clear, quiet. I started setting up the workbench, real tools, then the digital ones. No photos, no reminders, just the smell of pine, rubber soles, and cheap coffee. 3 days later, I got a call from her number. I didn't answer. She tried again the next day, left a message this time. I didn't listen to it. I let them pile up. 9 voicemails, all unheard. Then came the package. Box, no sender name. Inside, a photo frame, one of our engagement pictures, and under it a note. No hard feelings. Hope we can talk someday. I didn't respond, didn't smash it, didn't return it. I wrapped it in a towel, placed it in a drawer, and slid it shut. The hallway was silent except for the distant rumble of the city waking up. I stood by the window, watching the sun stretch its first light across cracked pavement and cold steel. For a moment, doubt crept in, the urge to call her back, to explain, to argue, to make it right. But I shook it off. I'm not in the business of revenge. I'm in the business of building, and some things don't deserve to be fixed. A month later, Louis sent a photo. His daughter on stage, violin in hand. He'd made it. He'd been there. Thank you, he texted. I stared at the screen for a long time, then saved the photo to a folder marked built. That night I opened the envelope with the offer again, signed it, sent it back. Not to prove anything, not to win, just to keep building. She didn't support the man I was, so she never met the man I became. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.